Hello, everybody. So I'm the Mebby and Kerno, the Party for Cornwall candidate for Truro, Boscawen and Redannick in the upcoming Cornwall Council elections. I'm delighted to talk to you this morning and just tell you a bit more about myself. I've got some questions here that have been put to me. First of all, why did I choose to stand? I guess I've wanted to stand for a long time. I used to work for Cornwall Council. Obviously, you can't stand for council when you're an officer of that particular authority. There are quite a few things that I want to be able to address locally. I certainly want to be able to support local people with their issues and be a very responsive councillor who, if contacted, investigates what the issues are and keeps them in touch with what's going on and represents them between elections. I believe that democracy is a process and not something you do every 4 years and then kind of, moan about it in between. If I fail, I won't stand again if I judge that I failed. If people think I failed, I won't stand again either. So I want to be a very honest politician, a non-politician, if you like, who is standing to represent and look after the interests of people in the ward and of Cornwall, of course. So the three main issues I will fight for. One is Cornish autonomy. We're threatened by a Devon and Cornwall mayor who would be based in Exeter. They'd take well-paid jobs away from Cornwall and base them in Exeter. And they're likely to increase Band D council tax by around £400 a year. Already people are paying too much for their council tax and they're getting less and less services, especially the relevant services that are important to them. When I've been out and about, I've had complaints about the lack of hedge trimming, about antisocial behaviour on the streets, about potholes which are filled and then they sort of deteriorate within a few months or a couple of years. All of these are bread and butter issues. If you walk into a shop with some money and you buy a product, you expect that product to work or be consumed in the way that it's advertised. If it doesn't, you can go back and complain. It's very difficult for people to be able to do that. And if they're not getting what they're paid for, and it's costing them well over £2,000 a year, at least in terms of Band D council tax, then I think value for money is the least that people can hope for. So we've got to, first of all, spend money more wisely, focus it on the local services that matter, ensure that Cornwall gets fairer funding, and that is certainly through more devolution, keeping more of the tax that we send to Westminster every year, which is at least £4 billion, and getting greater control over things like planning and housing so we can make a real difference to people. Angela Rayner and the Labour government want to impose 90,000 houses on Cornwall over the next 20 years, in addition to the 15,000 houses in the current local plan that haven't yet been built. That would increase the Cornish population by over 200,000, and already infrastructure is suffering. The roads are grinding to a halt, the hospital can't cope, there are not enough school places, and people are in a very difficult situation. People are telling me they're very concerned about these things on the doorstep. So we need local control over these matters and to ensure that housing puts local people first. The next question is what work have you done for your community before? Hope that bit can be edited. I've litter picked. That's a big issue for me. There's lots of litter strewn over the roads in my area and in many areas where litter from fast food outlets and energy drink cans just get chucked out of windows. I've been working with others in the community campaigning on the issue of residents' car parking. We need an integrated transport strategy for Truro. We've lost 2 major car parks, one that simply isn't being repaired because the council deems it costs too much, which is Moorfield, and another which has been lost to the long delayed PIDAR scheme. So could have been kept in some sort of operation. Once the car park had been demolished, it could have been flattened and cars could have been parked there. And the PIDAR scheme is taking years and years to come to fruition. It's probably a good scheme if it actually happens because it'll bring footfall into the town. But parking needs to work for local businesses and people who work in Truro rather than being a cash cow for Cornwall Council. Businesses are under a lot of pressure with the national insurance hike, with energy costs, of course, and getting footfall through the town, through Truro, through the city is absolutely vital to the future of those businesses and the jobs that they supply. It's also, as well, we need an integrated transport strategy for Truro because people come to the city in different ways. And if you're commuting or visiting the city from a rural area, unfortunately, it isn't always practical to be able to use public transport. The park and ride closes at 7, so that's an immediate barrier to the evening economy, which needs to be expanded in the city. And also, there are people I've met, elderly people, who, for two reasons, feel that they're trapped at home and they can't go into the city at night. One is the threat of antisocial behaviour and the behaviour of some of the youngsters locally who do need more things to do. But the other is the fact that they don't want to just pop into the city or go there perhaps to go to the theatre and pay through the nose for parking. And some elderly people, of course, can't walk the 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes into the city and back because they're prevented by health issues. So common sense towards transport and travel is a big issue that needs to be addressed. What did you do? What would you do in the first months if you were elected? Well, I think one thing is around orienteering. I know Cornwall Council very well. I worked in local government in Cornwall for both Cornwall County Council, Cornwall Council, and Kerrier District Council for over 25 years. And I worked in the voluntary and community sector as well, and still had a lot to do with local authorities in those roles. So, although I'd probably be able to hit the ground running to an extent, there would be, I recognise, a lot of training, a lot of form filling, a lot of induction. But if I was elected, I would certainly want to get involved in a number of areas. One is adult social care to ensure that people are getting the help and support that they need, and there's further integration with the NHS. Also, in terms of economic development and planning, which are my backgrounds, to ensure that those two things are linked together more strongly and we're providing homes and jobs for people in Cornwall. And also, of course, to thoroughly be able to represent my constituents and keep that dialogue going with them when they need support. And the final question is, why do you think you are the best choice for the area? Well, as far as I can see, I'm the only candidate who's been knocking on doors and when people answer, taking the opportunity to talk to them and ask them what their issues and concerns are. I haven't been putting leaflets through doors and scuttling off down the path. Even when I can see people there, if I see somebody, I try and engage with them. And what I have in my leaflets are very locally and Cornwall focused, unlike some of my opponents who are putting things on about the NHS and the police and things like that, which frankly Cornwall Council has got no powers over. So it's nice to see in that suggestion that Reform apparently are in favour of greater devolution. Ask them about that if they hit your doorstep. So that's why I think I'm the best choice. I also think that I represent change. The seat that I'm running for has been represented by Liberal Democrats for a very, very long time. And although, they have been good councillors, good people. If you keep doing the same thing, then at County Hall, you get the same continuity of complaints that we've had for a long time. I recognise that the popularity of Cornwall Council seems to be at an all-time low. I think that's really unfortunate because Cornwall Council actually is all we've got. It's a Cornwall-wide organisation championing Cornwall. And as a Cornwall councillor, I'd want to be able to work with all sorts of councillors, cross-party, certainly in MK, of course, and officers to do the very best for Cornwall and my ward. So I'm a hard worker. I would look at this, I would do this job full time. I would focus on my caseload. I would go to the nth degree to be able to get answers for local people. And I hope that on Thursday, May the 1st, you can vote for me, Steve Horscroft, MK, your candidate for the Party for Cornwall. Have a good day. Take care. Bye bye.